Since Repair Clinic encourages you to perform this procedure safely, a warning icon will appear when you should use caution. A piston ring compressor is a dedicated tool specifically designed to allow you to properly reinstall an engine piston after removing the piston to replace the rings or another component. To access the piston from this Briggs Stratton engine, you will first need to uninstall the engine from the equipment it's powering. If you're replacing the piston rings, you will need a 5/16" nut driver, a T30 Torx bit, a 7mm socket, an 8mm socket, a 10mm socket with an extension and a 3/8" universal joint adapter, a 5/8" wrench, a 5/8" spark plug wrench, a 5/32" Allen wrench, a torque wrench, a large flathead screwdriver, an expander tool, assembly lubrication, and a feeler gauge, in addition to the ring compressor. Before you begin this procedure, make sure the engine has cooled. We also recommend there be no fuel in the tank or oil in the engine. Once uninstalled, set the engine upright on a sturdy surface. Using the 7mm socket, unthread the 4 mounting screws, securing the guard to the muffler. Use the 10mm socket with an extension to unthread the rear screw, securing the guard's mounting strap to the bracket. Remove the guard and detach the breather tube from the rocker cover. Now use the 10mm socket to unthread the 4 mounting screws, securing the rocker cover to the cylinder head. You will need to use the 3/8" universal joint adapter to unthread the top screw. With the 4 screws unthreaded, you can detach the cover. If loose, remove the rocker cover gasket. Next, detach the spark plug wire and boot from the spark plug. Use the 5/8" spark plug wrench to help loosen the spark plug, then unthread it. Confirm the engine piston is in the up position, known as the top dead center. Then lower the piston slightly, making sure both rocker arms stay loose. Use the 5/8" wrench to secure the intake rocker arm adjuster nut and the 5/32" Allen wrench to loosen the set screw. With the set screw loosened, fully remove the nut and the rocker arm. Slide out the push rod. Now repeat to remove the exhaust valve rocker arm and push rod. Use the 10mm socket to unthread the 2 screws, securing the muffler to the cylinder head. Remove the muffler. Next, use the 5/16" nut driver to unthread the 2 mounting screws, securing the air filter cover. Remove the cover and the air filter, then unthread the screws securing the filter base. Pull the choke lever off so you can fully remove the base. Using the T30 torque spit, unthread the two mounting screws, securing the carburetor, spacer, and gaskets to the cylinder head. Now use the 7mm socket to unthread the screws securing the cylinder head shield. Fully detach the shield. Unthread the 4 mounting screws securing the cylinder head using the 10mm socket. Set the cylinder head aside. Now tip the engine on its side with the crankshaft facing upward. Use the 10mm socket to unthread the 6 mounting screws, securing the crankcase cover. You can use a flathead screwdriver to help pry off the cover. With the piston in the up or top dead center position, lift out the camshaft. If necessary, rotate the crankshaft so you can access the 2 mounting screws, securing the connecting rod cap. Use the 8mm socket to unthread them. Detach the cap. Now rotate the crankshaft so the piston is in the up position, and you can push the piston assembly out. You can now remove the 4 rings from the piston head. When installing new piston rings, first position the expander ring in the bottom groove of the piston. Align one of the small oil rings below the expander ring and the other above. Make sure the gaps in the oil rings and expander ring do not align. Use the expander tool to align the wiper ring in the middle groove, making sure the 2 stripes are on the right side of the gap. Using the expander tool, align the compression ring, the one with the single yellow stripe, in the top groove. Again, keep the stripe on the right side of the gap. You should also make sure the gaps in the wiper and compression rings are staggered. Now apply some assembly lubrication to the rings. You're now ready to position the piston ring compressor tool over the end of the piston and use the square wrench to tighten the band to compress the rings. Keep the band loose enough so the tool can slide off when required. Now insert the piston into the cylinder with the arrow pointing to the flywheel and push it into place as the ring compressor tool band slides off. Next, align the cap on the connecting rod and thread the two mounting screws. Using the 8mm socket on a torque wrench, torque the screws to 100 inch-pounds. Confirm the tappet valves are in place and the piston is in the up position. Lift off the timing gear washer so you can see the indent mark. Reinsert the end of the camshaft into the bearing in the crankcase and align the gears so the indent mark on the gear aligns with the indent mark on the timing gear when the gear teeth are interlocked. You may have to rotate the crankshaft to align the marks. Replace the timing gear washer. Confirm the crankcase gasket is intact, then realign the cover. Thread the mounting screws in a diagonal order. Using the 10mm socket on a torque wrench, torque the screws to 100 inch-pounds. Return the engine to its upright position. Realign the cylinder head gasket on the mounting pins. Then reposition the cylinder head on the crankcase and thread the 4 mounting screws in a diagonal order. Torque the 4 screws to 220 inch-pounds. Confirm the valve caps are in place on the valve stems. Reposition the cylinder head shield. Thread and tighten the side screw to secure. Realign the carburetor gasket and spacer on the cylinder head. Reinsert the 2 mounting screws through the carburetor and slide the second gasket onto the screws. Position the carburetor and thread the screws into the cylinder head. Insert the two mounting screws through the air filter base. Then align the base and thread the screws into the carburetor. Replace the choke lever. With the pre-cleaner positioned in the cover, followed by the air filter with its rubber gasket facing outward, align the cover on the base and secure it with the screws. Confirm the gasket is intact, then reposition the muffler and thread the two mounting screws to secure. We recommend you examine the push rods to see if either one is bent and replace one or both rods with new ones if necessary. Insert both push rods through the guide until they are fully seated in the cylinder head. Realign the intake valve rocker arm and partially thread the adjuster nut. Repeat to install the exhaust valve rocker arm. Now use the feeler gauge to set the appropriate gap between both rocker arms and their respective valve caps. The intake rocker arm gap should be between 0.004 and 0.006 thousandths of an inch. The exhaust rocker arm gap should be between 0.009 and 0.011 thousandths of an inch. Tighten both rocker arm adjuster set screws, then recheck the gaps. Rethread the spark plug. Be careful not to damage the threads by over-tightening. Reattach the wire and boot to the spark plug. Reinstall the rocker cover by inserting the top mounting screw, then slide the gasket, if applicable, over the screw. Align the cover and gasket on the cylinder head and thread the screw. Replace the remaining screws to fully secure the cover. The longer screw goes on the bottom. Insert the breather tube into the hole in the cover. Reinstall the muffler guard by positioning it over the muffler. Then thread the screw to secure the strap to the bracket. Thread the 4 front mounting screws to secure the guard to the muffler. Once the engine has been reinstalled, refill the fuel tank and add oil, and the engine should be ready for use.